Hi lovelies, and welcome in my witch's kitchen. Soon we will be celebrating Imbolc, a pagan holiday to mark the start of the rural year and greet the first signs of spring. So today I wanted to share a special festive kitchen witch recipe with you that suits this pagan holiday perfectly: candle cake. Made from a wonderful, moist and temptingly sweet pastel de tres leches, or 3 milk cake to be precise. This candle cake is actually surprisingly simple but looks fun, tastes amazingly delicious, and does correspond to the meaning and energy of Imbolc. And I will tell you why throughout the video. And even though this cake is called a milk cake, there is no reason why all my vegan friends should miss out on a decadent Imbolc celebration cake. So I found a lovely recipe online for you and linked it down below. But now let's get baking. We will be starting with the dough. As always, all ingredients and measurements can be found in the description box below. We will need a big enough bowl to combine some very soft butter, a pinch of salt, some vanilla sugar or vanilla extract, and the sugar until it has a smooth and creamy consistency. Imbolc, that is also referred to as Brdigids Day, Candlemass, Lupercalia, Feast of Nuts or Groundhog Day, is an ancient festival that is celebrated in many cultures around the world under different names. Some say Imbolc means in the belly, describing the pregnancy of Mother Earth with new life that is still unseen under a blanket of snow in the dreary and bleak February weather. At the same time, the sun is becoming stronger and reawakens the spring maiden. In an Irish Celtic context, Brigidah, the keeper of the sacred flame and guardian of home and hearth, would bestow her blessings upon the people that day, and that is also a reason why candles are a symbol of this fire festival, representing the return of light and warmth. Once everything is well combined, we are going to add in the eggs. And now it is really important to show off those arm muscles, as we really want to beat a ton of air into those eggs until the mixture is foamy. This will later on help to stabilize the dough better and at the same time makes it nice and fluffy. Now, in a small container we want to mix the dry ingredients, flour and baking powder. And in order to keep the dough fluffy and light and absolutely cloud-like, instead of pouring it all in the bowl, I would advise to carefully sift the dry ingredients in bit by bit, while stirring slightly in between to help all the ingredients bind together. Some sources also say that the term Imbolc may derive from an old Irish word that means to wash or cleanse oneself, which we in a modern context can interpret as a great day for a spiritual and energetical cleansing, or even take as inspiration for a spring cleaning. If you'd like to work some kitchen witchery while baking this candle cake, use the task of sifting the flour to think of all the darkness this last year has brought and envision your feelings about disappointments, struggles, and displeasing little moments flowing into the bowl of flour that is laying there like a mountain of heaviness and worries. Then bit by bit, shake it through the sieve and let the heaviness break up into a fluffy layer of dust, draining away from your mind and making place for hope, warmth and light. Now, in order to bake the candle cake, I personally opted for a baking ring, as I wanted the dough to be higher. If you have pastry rings with a smaller circumference, that would be even better. Or if you want to go for an easier option, you can also just use cupcake forms. After we smoothen the top, we pop it into the oven at around 180 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. The reason this cake is called Pastel de tres leches, which translates to 3 milk cake, is that it is doused in a mixture of 3 different kinds of milk: regular milk, sweetened condensed milk and evaporated milk. Even though the exact etymology of Imbolc is unclear, some sources connect it to the Gaelic word oimmelc, meaning ewe's milk, as this time of the year is also the start of lambing season. So for a lot of new pagans and Wiccans, milk does hold correspondence for this holiday and can be used as an offering to Brigid as part of your Imbolc altar setup, or of course in festive kitchen witchery. So we are going to bring it all together by mixing regular milk, sweetened condensed milk and evaporated milk in a big jar. Personally, I do love to add in a little something something to make it extra special for this pagan holiday. I would recommend a good rum. But of course, if you have anyone sober or kids eating this, you might want to leave it out as it won't be cooked. Now, you want to give this a good mix, and in the meantime our cake should have baked. In order to remove it from the mold, scrap along the edges with a knife as the crust can be a bit hard due to the high amount of eggs in this. Then let it cool down before working further with it. So as you have seen before, I went for the idea of making small candles, as I envisioned it looking oh so darling. However, full disclaimer, do not do this if you value your sanity or are not prepared for your innocent kitchen spirits to hear some foul swear words. Because while in theory this is all super cute, the cake will be rather soggy, so it's a bitch to coat and shape and mold later on. So if you want to go for simple, leave it as one cake and just proceed with the dousing and glazing. If you want to join me in my insanity, you're in for a wild ride. You want to grab some kind of stencil or glass or even knife to cut out little candle-like shapes. Once we have them cut to our liking, we need to take a fork and pinch holes in every pastelito, or if you left it as a whole cake, all over the cake surface. This is so the milk mixture can really infuse the cake with all its wonderful sweet, rich and creamy taste. The easiest way to let the candle cake soak without creating too much of a mess is to take some cling film and place the individual pastelitos on it. Then pour the milk mix over them, and don't worry if it seems like a lot, the cake really will soak it off and give the finished little candle cakes an incredibly soft taste. Wrap the cling film so that it closes over the little cakes and then let it soak in the fridge for at least 6 hours, but better overnight. Now, what is left to do is to make the frosting, and personally I think this Pastel de tres leches is already sweet enough by itself, so I opted for a only very lightly sugared whipped cream topping, mixing heavy whipping cream with a tiny bit of powdered sugar to stabilize it a bit. This frosting will be much less stable than your general cake frosting, a fact that triggered some serious aggravated mumbling in the following process too. But don't worry, it is all worth it in the end. Once the cream is whipped, we want to take the soggy little shits out of the fridge and arrange them in a pleasing way. I also layered some to create smaller and taller candles. And then, with a knife, carefully apply the whipped cream frosting on the little pastelitos de tres leches. Now I know this doesn't look very promising yet, but it will get better. As now we will cover up most of this abomination with a white chocolate frosting. For that I simply used store-bought white chocolate couverture and melted it in a warm water bath, mainly because I was done with this nonsense. And while the chocolate is doing its thing, melting away into a wax-like sauce, we will need some birthday candles. I did choose white ones, so it did blend better with the general candle color. I cut half of them off so only the tip remained and pinched them into the middle of every little candle cake. Now of course, if you would apply hot chocolate sauce onto the cream frosting, it would immediately melt. So it is very important to let the chocolate cool down as much as possible. And here is a little trick. Put the candle cakes in the freezer or outside if it's below freezing point for about 10 minutes so the whipped cream frosting hardens a bit. And then you can carefully drip the white chocolate onto each cake and round the little candle wick. Use 2 or 3 layers to create the dripping candle look, and don't worry about being too precise. And ta-da! Your Imbolc Candle Cake is born! A feast for you and your witchy and pagan friends and family. The moist and rich consistency of the Pastel de tres leches is such a guilty pleasure, and the look of this fancy dessert really does this pagan holiday justice. Unfortunately, I couldn't show you how it looked from the inside, as I quickly brought them over to my neighbors before getting tempted. Because of course I devoured all the leftover dough from stenciling it out and didn't dare to risk another high-calorie binge. I do hope you have a wonderful and bright Imbolc celebration, and I'm excited to see you very soon in another witchy vlog, where I will share some simple Imbolc ritual ideas with you. See you soon!